A Pennsylvania professor has been busted blowing federal research funds at strip clubs. Drexel University professor Chika Nwankah, pictured here, spent federal taxpayer money at Philadelphia area venues, including 2 strip clubs, and other improper purchases he used this money for, according to the Department of Justice. The DOJ posted this earlier this week, saying Drexel University to pay $189,062 to resolve potential false claims liability. The case stems from a former professor's misuse of federal grant funds, including for gentlemen's clubs. DOJ release says United States Attorney William McSwain announced that Drexel University has agreed to pay the United States $189,062 to resolve potential liability under the False Claims Act for this former professor's misuse of grant funds at these gentlemen clubs and other improper purchases for a period of 10 years. The head of Drexel's Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering, Dr. Chika Nwankah, submitted improper charges against federal grants. The majority of these charges were made to gentlemen's clubs and sports bars in the Philadelphia area. Another article from earlier this week talks about how this former Drexel University professor blew nearly $200,000 of federal grant money in strip clubs and other improper purchases, according to prosecutors. For more than a decade, Dr. Chika Nwankah, 56 years old, reportedly misappropriated funds issued by the Navy, the Department of Energy, and the National Science Foundation to pay off hefty tabs at gentlemen's clubs and sports bars in the Philadelphia area. Drexel, where Nwankah worked as head of the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering, discovered the alleged fraud in 2017 during an internal audit and alerted the government. Quote, "This is an example of flagrant and audacious fraud and a shameful misuse of public funds," said U.S. Attorney William McSwain. Went on to say, quote, "The agencies providing these grant funds expect them to be used towards advancements in energy and naval technology for public benefit, not for personal entertainment." When investigators opened their probe later the same year, they're said to have found that Nwankah had been less than subtle about his extracurricular escapades. According to prosecutors, the professor submitted several improper charges against his federal grants for goods and services billed at strip clubs. This took place between 2007 until 2017. Investigators also found that he'd been misspending government-issued funds in sports bars and on iTunes. In total, Nwankah was found to have misspent a total of $189,062, which had been intended for energy, science, and naval research. We have pictures of 2 of the clubs where this money was wasted. When confronted by authorities, Nwankah came clean, admitting to being the culprit behind the unauthorized expenses and resigned from his post. He also agreed to pay back $53,328, which is less than a third of the overall bill that he ran up. The report added that a university spokesperson said the school reported Nwankah's suspicious spending and cooperated with the investigation into his misconduct. Drexel has reportedly since established additional training for faculty and staff and has revised its standards with regards to auditing. A quote from a spokesperson says Drexel takes allegations of unethical or unlawful business conduct on the part of any members of the university community very seriously and remains committed to being in full compliance with all billing regulations and requirements. And even though right now they're saying that Nwankpa has not yet been charged with a crime, the Office for the U.S. Attorney William McSwain has mentioned that the settlement did not prevent the prosecution of Nwankpa. So there could still be more to come. Fraud is never a victimless crime, Naval Criminal Investigative Service Field Office Special Agent in Charge Leo Lamont said, according to the DOJ, quote, "In this case, the flagrant and wrongful misuse of American taxpayers' funds not only eroded the public trust, but jeopardized the Department of Navy's efforts to obtain the best technology and research for our brave men and women in uniform. The NCIS will continue to battle fraud in all forms and tirelessly pursue all those who seek to cheat, steal, defraud, or harm the American public and the Department of the Navy." Report adds that according to Campus Reform Analysis, Drexel University has received more than $70 million in federal research funding in 2017. It's clearly a lot more of these types of scams involving these federal research grants at other universities. There have been a few big cases very recently. Just last month, there was a big case involving a Stony Brook professor that stole more than $200,000 from cancer research. Stony Brook University professor stole this grant money that was meant for cancer research and used it to pay for personal expenses, including mortgage payments on his house, federal prosecutors said. Associate Professor Jeffrey Gernon, Director of Cancer Metabolomics at Stony Brook's Renaissance School of Medicine, was charged with wire fraud and money laundering after allegedly siphoning over $200,000 from cancer research grants issued by the National Institute of Health, the Department of Justice said last month. Professor Gernon's alleged theft of federal and state grant funds earmarked for cancer research can be explained in two words: pure greed, U.S. Attorney Richard Donoghue said. He will now be held to account in a federal courtroom. Gernon, 48 years old, allegedly made shell companies that claimed to be providing research materials and equipment for his cancer research projects, then submitted phony invoices to the university for grant money, prosecutors have said. Once he had his hands on the money, Gernon transferred it to his personal bank account, which he used to pay off his mortgage, among other expenses. The payments were made over 4 years from 2013 to 2017. As millions of Americans place their faith in programs established to fund cancer-related research, Gernon, a professor, allegedly siphoned money from grant funds established for this very purpose, added the FBI Assistant Director in Charge, William Sweeney, who also said, quote, "While people continued to suffer from their illnesses, Gernon made payments towards his personal mortgage with the money he stole. His conduct is despicable, and it won't be tolerated." So Gernon was charged last month in this other case. He faces 20 years in prison. That was at Stony Brook University. We will have to see what happens with this other case with this Drexel University professor who also wasted these research funds. He's not yet been charged, but could be facing some serious charges if they're anything like this case from last month. Stole a very similar amount of money, so we'll have to see how that goes forward, the case with Chukwunemeka Nwankpa, and how the actual charges that we know of in the Stony Brook case as well. Just a couple examples of these same types of schemes that go on with this federal research grant money at various different schools. Anything else related, any similar cases, any other connections that you may have, let me know in the comments. Thanks everybody for watching. If you could leave a like on this video, that is greatly appreciated, and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Thanks again everybody that is supporting the channel by sharing the videos and sharing the information. Also, all Patreon and PayPal supporters, thank you again. patreon.com/realityreader and paypal.me/realityreader, 2 places where you can support the channel directly. Both links in the video description. I'll follow up soon. Thanks, everyone.